Okay, now this is an episode I've kind of been building up. This is Sweet and Elite, and like I said, this is the very first episode I watched from this show. I picked it out to see if there was anything to all the hype, all the Brony phenomenon, and the good reviews had been getting. So I wanted to see if there was something there, and it almost convinced me that there wasn't. That it was still the same show as the old one, just maybe done a little better, a little smarter, so that people who secretly wanted to watch a girly frou-frou show called My Little Pony now had the excuse to do so. That it gave it to them well enough so that they could watch it without feeling too bad. But so yeah, it almost convinced me that this wasn't worth bothering with, that this wasn't worth reviewing. So yeah, and now here we are getting to it in context. And after all that, is it one of the worst episodes of the show? No, this is not a bad episode. It's not even a below average episode. But I mean, I still don't think it's great. Is the other thing. I mean, it's context does help here. You see where everyone is coming from a lot more here. That's the real benefit of context. But it's not so much that I see it and I think, oh well, this thing that was completely awesome I just didn't get before because I saw it out of context. Now I can see that it's brilliant. And it's nothing that I mean, yeah, I took in what this episode was the first time just fine, but in context, you do get behind it a little bit more, and I think it's still just an okay story, but it's an okay story now in the context of a pretty good show, so it holds up. Is my point. And now basically, my problem with this episode is I just don't find this kind of story very interesting. This is very much the typical Rarity story where yeah, well, she uh, goes to the town that the princess is in, that Twilight used to live in, Canterlot, to, I guess, just pick up a few supplies, and she's all excited to be there in high society, but then other high-class ponies start looking down on her because she's, yeah, from a small town, so she starts really trying to fit in, making better outfit for herself, and putting on hold the project she was going to do, which was a dress for Twilight's birthday. So yeah, and she actually fits in pretty well once she hits her stride. She meets a very important pony whose name is Fancy Pants. I guess he had cruel parents. And yeah, she just goes crazy trying to fit in and trying to hide her small town origins until she gets invited to so many high class events that she misses Twilight's birthday. But Twilight and the gang move it to Canterlot so they can celebrate, include Rarity, and it Rarity starts to see what great friends they are. But then, of course, they hold Twilight's birthday right next to the most important party she was invited to, so she tries to sort of slip back and forth, make an appearance at both of them, and then the friends see what she's doing and they actually support her because they're good friends and all that, but they go next door to party with the other. Uh, well, they tell Rarity to go mingle and sell herself a little bit, but then they also go with her and they embarrass her a little bit, and they force Rarity to. They reveal that Rarity knows them, is from Ponyville, is their friend, and they force her to choose between disowning them and standing up for them, and she chooses to stand up for them, and yeah, she then and the Fancy Pants pony sides with her. Actually, says that he thinks her friends are charmingly rustic. Which okay, but yeah, he sides with Rarity, so she gets her way and she learns her lesson and all that. And I mean, and yeah, I just like the high society, the fashionable events, the worrying that you're going to be embarrassed by your small town origins. I just don't find any of that interesting. I mean, it was like I said, I think suited for success. It was kind of like that. We're not at the level of green isn't your color anymore, where it's just it's so the same thing over and over, and that thing is something I don't find very interesting. But yeah, we're back up to the level of suited for success. I think where yeah, it was a similar kind of story, similar kind of Rarity story, and that one I had a similar reaction there. I think it's okay. It's basically an airtight episode. It tells its story just fine. It's just not a story I find that interesting. I mean, it explores Rarity's character just fine. But yeah, I guess I don't I'm just not interested in the same things Rarity's interested in. I think, and I mean, maybe I should just blame myself for that. But I think that they, if done well enough, anything can be made sort of interesting. And I think that that's the thing where this episode does, I think, sort of rise to the level is, it does, because it does find ways to pull me in, which is why I don't think it's a bad episode. Because I should first note that it's actually, well, I think that was too much at once there, but basically my point here is that even though it might just be not something I'm interested in, I'd like to think that they could have made that they can make these kinds of episodes into great ones, and it just seems like they aren't. But okay, so but anyway, I was about to say where I think this episode climbs back up after just starting out not interesting me very much, and I think that it's actually kind of a very smart episode. We've seen this kind of plot before, just somebody starts getting their wish fulfilled, and then they have to choose between their wish and their friends, and they at the end, of course, have to choose their friends. But this one though, it takes the time to sort of put you behind Rarity's perspective a little bit more, why she gets so into this, and even better, even more intelligently, it does not go the very generic route of having her learn the lesson that, well, my friends are more important than anything, and I should always put myself on the back burner for them. They are worth more than anything. BS. That is a terrible moral, and it is the route that most episodes like this go. That because you can put your friends on the back. Well, not on the back, but you can. Yeah, that's the wrong way to put that. But sometimes you do need to put your friends' events on hold for things that are really important. Sometimes you do need to think about your own life, your own need, and not in the sense of just like gaining things for yourself that you don't need, but there are things that are important to do to build a life for yourself essentially. So the moral that you should just put all your needs on hold for events with your friends that you can still do tomorrow. You can still be friends and be there for. It's the other thing. It's a birthday party, which is important, but it's not something that you will never get again. If Rarity was still going to send her a present and all that, so sometimes there has to be a little give and take, and that's what this episode explores. And it does let Rarity get away with a lot here. Maybe that was driving the point home a little too much, because she does lie a lot about her friends and to her friends, disowns them a little behind her back, puts the dress she was going to make for Twilight on hold for so long that she completely just ends up not being able to make much of anything in time. And she lucks out. The very simple dress she managed to get done is actually just what Twilight wanted, so she lucks out a little here, she gets away with stuff here, but that happens. Some people are going to make mistakes like that, or in this case, ponies, and it doesn't mean that they won't do the right thing, but it doesn't always require a moral beatdown. Sometimes they just need to learn a lesson. So, okay, it's a very smart episode, and it doesn't. So even if it doesn't get me really excited for it, it's not nothing here is really a turnoff. It's not painfully generic. It's just sort of standard, and that's so. Okay, it could have been so much worse, and it wasn't. And I think that, it's another airtight plot, and it is a plot you think goes with Rarity. So I could see this and Suited for Success kind of seem like trademark Rarity episodes, and I guess I'm just not going to find her quite as interesting all the time. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have a character to explore too, and this episode does do a good job of exploring said character and building these things. Also, it builds the theme of not disowning where you came from. Your friends might embarrass you at points, but keep in mind, if they really, if they're a true friend, if you do, I mean, if they became your friends for a reason, there's probably something there that you don't want to disown, and that's what the friends demonstrate too. They move the party to Canterlot to, help to, because they want to include Rarity and just all of the above. So, I think very smartly done. So I will give it props for that, and also for provide. I mean, even though this plot at its core is not the most interesting thing I could ask for, it does find ways to sort of step it up at points to sort of, take it above par and find ways to make it interesting. Like, the one above all else is that song in the middle, where it's called, I'm the type of pony every pony should know. That hit it out of the park. I mean, that was a very just genuine, sincere sounding song, and a very sincere sounding montage that went with it. It's just very catchy, and it sort of puts you behind Rarity's perspective, just like, getting into her hopes and dreams, and just like why this is so important to her, and just like how much it means to her, how much she enjoys fitting in with all of this, and how well she fits in with all of this. Like, she was really meant to do that. They have all these sequences where she's in like at a simple party, really engaging everyone with a conversation that they find very interesting, and choosing the hors d'oeuvres that everyone else now wants to pick because she does, and just this is Rarity in her element essentially, and that's what this montage gets across so clearly, is just that like her perspective in such a catchy song too. So okay episode with possibly the best song in the entire show. So how about that? But okay, so there's that. There's subtle touches, like she uses a tip from Rainbow Dash to predict the winner of the Wonderbolts at the big race at the end, and then and also the Friends appearance at the end too. I mean, the part where they wander over to the other party and start driving everyone crazy, that was that was kind of predictable, kind of generic. So that's where the episode is just back down at par. But certain touches, like the Twilight's party before that, with Rainbow Dash is the one that starts the cake fight that they all have. That was that's one thing that benefits from context, because I think the Friends showing up at the end, as the first episode I saw, I think they came across as kind of all the same character the first time, but you sort of appreciate that who does what and how it's a distinct touch for each one of them. So Rainbow Dash starting this cake fight, or Fluttershy summoning a bird choir to the High Society party, which for some reason they're offended by, or they don't recognize as the greatest party trick ever. But okay, so there are touches like that that are just entertaining. So overall, I think this episode is okay. I think it was my first one. Maybe I just have kind of a soft spot for, at least for that song, if nothing else. So I think that it's, in a season that has been doing great so far, this one is still just okay, and that's sort of you could take a lot of stuff from that, but still for Rarity, I think her she's had a borderline great episode with Sister Who's Social, but this is right at her standard from what we've seen from her so far. So I'm not like disappointed I think even if I didn't know it was coming, I wouldn't be disappointed to come across an episode like this. So I think it's fine in the end, So and I think that maybe I do have, for certain parts of it, I think maybe I do have a little bit of a soft spot. So okay, this episode, in spite of everything, it is not bad. It is just fine. So alright. So now there's that. The next one is The Secret of My Excess. So okay, we'll see. But alright, come back for that.